I never imagined that a single sentence could wound my husband more deeply than any argument we had ever had, but the moment I said it, I saw the look in his eyes. Shock, hurt, and something that broke my heart immediately. It started on a Tuesday evening, the kind that drags on after a long day at work, exhaustion mixing with frustration in ways you can't fully control. My husband, Jacob, had spent the whole afternoon fixing a leak under the kitchen sink, something he'd taught himself just to save us money, something he never complained about doing. When I came home, I saw tools scattered on the floor, the cabinet doors open, and Jacob rubbing his hands with a tired grin as he said, "It should be working now." But instead of appreciating the effort, something in me snapped from stress. I sighed loudly, dropped my bag and muttered, "Honestly, Jake, sometimes I feel like you can't do anything right." The words hung in the air like a slap. I hadn't yelled. I hadn't raised my voice. But the impact was immediate and devastating. Jacob froze, the smile fading from his face so slowly it felt like watching light drain from a room. His eyes, usually warm and steady, dimmed in a way I had never seen. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He simply nodded, put away his tools quietly, and said, "I'm sorry you feel that way, Em." That sentence alone told me I had hurt him where it mattered most. His pride, his confidence, and the small place inside him that wanted nothing more than to take care of me. From that day forward, something about him changed. Not dramatically, not in anger, but in the subtle ways that screamed louder than any fight ever could. He stopped offering to fix things around the house, choosing instead to step aside and let me handle whatever I thought he couldn't do right. He became quieter, more reserved, not cold but careful, like someone walking on thin ice, afraid every step might crack. And the worst part? He never brought up what I said. He never reminded me, never threw it back at me during a disagreement. His silence was the reminder. His eyes carried the weight of my words every time I looked at him. I began noticing the shift in our everyday interactions. How he would pause before giving an opinion, how he would second-guess small decisions like where to place groceries, how he would say, "You decide," more often than before. I had taken something from him without meaning to. His sense that he was good enough, capable, valued. One night, about 2 weeks after that moment, I found him sitting in the garage, staring at the half-repaired toolbox he used to love organizing. He was holding one of the wrenches, turning it over in his hands like it was something unfamiliar. When I approached, he didn't look up immediately, and when he did, there was a softness in his eyes mixed with sadness. That's when guilt hit me harder than any emotion I had ever felt. I sat down next to him and asked gently, "Jake, why don't you fix things like you used to?" He shrugged a little and said, "I just don't want to do things wrong anymore." Those words hollowed me out completely. I felt tears forming because I finally understood the full extent of the damage I had done. It wasn't about a kitchen sink. It wasn't about tools or chores. I had attacked the one thing he took pride in, being dependable, being helpful, being someone I could count on. I apologized that night, genuinely, tearfully, telling him I never meant what I said and that the stress of work had nothing to do with him. He listened, his expression gentle, because that's who he was, kind even when he was hurting. He took my hand and said, "I know you didn't mean it." But hearing it stuck. And that was when I realized something important. Sometimes, the deepest wounds aren't created by yelling or fights. They are created by careless words spoken in moments of frustration, words that stay lodged in the heart long after the moment has passed. From that night on, I worked harder to rebuild what I had damaged, not through grand gestures, but through consistency. I praised his skills genuinely, asked for his help, listened to his ideas, and reminded him how much I valued the things he did for us. Slowly, quietly, the light returned to his eyes. His confidence began to rebuild piece by piece, not because I pushed, but because he could feel that I meant every word of appreciation. It took time, patience, and humility on my part, but the bond we had grew stronger because of it. I learned that love isn't just about affection or big celebrations. It's about protecting the parts of each other that are vulnerable and precious. And from that day, I promised myself never to hurt Jacob in the place he held closest. His heart, his confidence, his sense of worth. His eyes had shown me the pain once, and I never wanted to see that look again.